It's been a little over a year since I used Scratch, so I decided to go back to it and try it out to see if I've just been sleeping on it. But before I go back to it, I need some game ideas. So I sent a message to some of my friends to give me some ideas. Alright, the first idea is from the Canadian Grape, and he said I should make a bad horror game. Seems pretty easy. The first thing I did was of course make the project. Then I renamed it to Scary Game. After, I got rid of the scratch cat and made a yellow square with a black outline for the player. With the player sprite created, I made a black box for the game background. Next, I made a basic movement script for the player. Then I made a new sprite for the enemy, and I gave it some movement so it always goes to a random position. After making the enemy, I made a light thing follow the player to show the player's FOV. Next, I made the enemy only show if it's in the player's FOV. Then I made a yellow circle for the target that the player has to find. After making the target, I made a script for it to go to a random position and add 1 to your score every time the player touches it. And I made it only be visible when it's in the FOV. Then I made a game over screen that pops up when the player touches the enemy. That's it for the Canadian Grapes idea. Here's the final gameplay. Also, if you want to check it out, there's a link in the description for the game page. So now that I'm done with the Canadian Grapes game, there's one more game I need to make, and it's from Rockman812. His idea is for me to remake Weird Strict Dad, which is a Roblox game. For context, Weird Strict Dad is a game on Roblox where, from what I've played, you have to do tasks around the house and get to bed before something happens. Let's get started making the game. The first thing I did was make the project and I renamed it to Weird Trick Parent. Then I made the player sprite. After making the player sprite, I made the player be able to move. Next, I made an okay sprinting system for the player. After making the sprinting system, I made the living room of the house. Then I made the bedroom of the house. And for the final part of the house, I made a kitchen and its furniture. With all the parts of the house made, I made the doors work. Then I made a task controller to manage all the tasks for the game. Next, I started coding the clean house task. In this task, the player will have to clean up 3 garbage bags that spawn randomly in the living room. After making the clean house task, I made the food task. In this task, the player will have to take ramen from the fridge and cook it on the stove. After it's done cooking, the player will have to put it on the dining table. Then I made the turn off lights task. In this task, the player will have to turn off all the lights in the house, but I couldn't figure out how to make each room turn off with its own light switch, so I made all of them turn off with one light switch. Lastly, I made a good ending where the player has to sleep early. But you can't lose yet because I didn't make the time feature, so I did some off-camera mining to do the clock and other things. Now we have a cool little song I made for the game background music. At the start of the game, it tells you what your dad wants you to do. And I also added the clock feature. Now that everything is done, here's the final gameplay when you win. And here's the final gameplay when you lose. You really thought I was going to show you all of it, did you? Well, if you want to check it all out, there's a link in the description to play the game. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I upload a new video. See ya!